Namaste. Hello, all. Welcome back to another episode of the Oz Mom's Diaries. Namaste. Hello, all. Welcome to another episode of the Oz Mom's Diaries. Today is a super special episode because it is the 10th episode, and I want to express my heartfelt thanks to each and every one of you for supporting me. Please continue to subscribe, like, and share. Today, we have an Oz Mom guest who represents the new age mother perfectly. Sharadha Ramakrishnan, fondly known as Shar among family and friends, was born in Kerala and raised in Muscat, Oman for most part of her childhood. A software engineer by profession with a master's degree, Shar is a talented entrepreneur who started her own company, Monkey Creative Labs, soon after college. Shar currently works at Yelp as Director of Engineering for the Data and Analytics platform. She loves traveling and has spent 6 weeks with the indigenous tribes at Papua New Guinea and is an avid photographer. Her magical creations with vegan and raw foods will leave you spellbound, and her vibrant Instagram posts will have you longing for a taste. Shar is also a hands-on mom to her 1-year-old son Wade, and she lives in California with her husband and her kiddo. Today we're going to talk to Sharadha, and we're going to find out so much about parenting, work-life balance, motherhood, pregnancy, her views on challenges in pregnancy, and so much more.
Hi, Deepthi.
Hi, Sharadha. How are you?
I'm good. Really glad it's the weekend.
I know, finally.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful, and it's my absolute honor to have you here on the Oz Mom's Diaries.
Mm-hmm. And same here. Like when you reached out on Instagram, I felt really happy because like I try and share a lot of my life, and I felt really happy that resonated with you, and that will resonate with your viewers as well. I hope so.
Yeah, definitely. How was it growing up in a household with 4 beautiful, strong women, including yourself? You have 3 sisters. And your mother, enough can't be said about her. She is a multi-talented and a very strong lady. So please share with us about your childhood.
Yeah. So, like I said, I grew up most of my childhood was spent in Muscat. So, because we were immigrants, a lot of the cultural aspect of growing up as a we speak Tamil at home, and we are from Tamil Nadu, and a lot of the cultural aspect was at home. The least I can say about my childhood is that there was a lot of drama because there was my mom, who was as you know, a firecracker of a personality.
Yeah.
My dad used to equalize a lot of it. He's the level-headed, calm person. But, growing up with 2 sisters and mom, like my mom, who was always an entrepreneur. She had initially she was into fashion designing, and then she got into cookery contests, and she used to do baking classes at home. And then she started her own company in Muscat, which is actually a very difficult thing to do.
Wow. Okay.
Called Kids Camp, where she did a lot of summer camps for children.
Right.
And it was a huge hit because it was one of its kind in Muscat. And then when we came back home, home, she got into films. In fact, there was a brief stint where she even was part of a construction business where she was, contributing towards architecting houses. She, in fact, architected our house. The interesting thing is, growing up, you don't necessarily know whether you're growing up around strong, role models, right? Because that's all you know. I knew my mom, I knew my sisters, I knew my dad. Mm-hmm. But then, once you grow, once you get to that age where you're exposed to like other people, you're exposed to systemic discrimination, you're exposed to sexism in the industry as well as, culturally. Then you realize, what privilege you've been brought up with, what values you've been brought up with. The most interesting aspect of all of that is looking back, watching my father, right? The support that he lends to my mother is like no other that I have seen. Mm-hmm. So all three of us have grown to expect that our partners be exactly like that. Yeah. That's a little bit about what it was like growing up.
And you became an entrepreneur right after college.
Right.
So did you always have this plan in mind to start your own company, or did it happen while you were studying?
No, I actually never had it was never a dream or it was never a plan that I will start my own company. So my dad's a computer scientist and that's his education. Interestingly, he taught me, how to program. He taught me QBasic when I was in 3rd grade. My passion lies in software engineering, so let me go do that. Right. So I did my master's, and then when when time came to graduate, I had finished 2 internships, but I really, really struggled with placement. So my final year internship was at a company in Charlottesville, Virginia, called Hemp. And the reason I went there was because the founder of that company had come to PSG Tech to do a keynote talk. Okay. And I went up to him and I said, I find you really inspirational. If there's ever a chance that, you and I can work together, I would love it. And that followed up with an internship. So that was, really serendipitous for me. So I went over there, and once I finished the internship, he basically said, if you wanted to continue doing this back home, we would love to contract you and help you set up your own firm. And that's when it struck me, like, okay, that's a possibility. So I went back home and I started off Monkey Creative Labs, and I had my first customer, which I felt really lucky about. Not a lot of people have that. I was able to hire 4 people straight away. I had an office, and that's how it started.
Wow. So you have a very demanding corporate career. So have you noticed your, work life changing once you've had a baby? No matter how supportive your spouse is, or no matter how well planned you are, still there must be some change from what you could do before.
My workplace supports me as a mother, right? Like they understand that I have certain demands at home, and that's what enables me to bring my whole self to work. It is 100% true that if I was single, if I was not married, or if I was not a mother, there's so much more I could probably get done in a week. But the question is also, now that I am a mother and that I am married, I'm also way better at multitasking. I'm also way better at handling difficult situations, at firefighting, at troubleshooting. So I bring all of that to the table, as opposed to throughput of work. So I think it's a balance, and I think the community needs to support you to balance that.
How did you develop an interest in travel and photography? And please share with us your amazing experience with the indigenous tribes. I was really amazed to read that. So
so much out there in the world that you're yet to see, be it nature or be it culture. Like I said, it's just something that gave me a lot of wanderlust. Like I wanted to, make sure I'm earning so that I'm able to see the world. So that's when it started, my passion for travel. And then when the opportunity came by for me to go to Papua New Guinea, it actually came by because of the founder I told you in Charlottesville, Virginia, who I interned with. So they also had a section of the company that was called the Heritable Innovation Trust, where they traveled to places like Papua New Guinea, spent time with the tribes, and documented their heritable innovation. So, for example, heritable innovation is something like our Ayurveda. One of the most enriching experiences of my life, because I lived in a community that shared everything. Yeah, they shared their children, they shared festivities, they shared sad occasions, they shared food. So it was, I mean, I could speak on and on and on, but interestingly, the way they hunted for their food, the way they harvested their trees and made sure every single part of the tree is used, and then whenever a tree was cut down, they planted a new one. The way they brought up their children, because any mother in the village would breastfeed a child if it was hungry. Every single time I'm exposed to an experience like that, or I find the opportunity, I jump at it, because I think it really, really changes you as a person.
Your raw and vegan foods, they are so drool-worthy, all the posts on your Instagram. So how did you turn vegan? Was it due to a reason? And what is your motivation behind making your food look beautiful?
Yeah, so I've always been a vegetarian. So that's how I've been brought up. I've never had meat in my life, except for fake meat. And I don't know if I'm a big fan. So in 2017, I went for a kickboxing class and I tore my ACL. So I played sports all my life. I've played basketball in college and school, and then I played ultimate frisbee. After that, I still play ultimate frisbee. And so when the kickboxing injury happened, I think my ACL was already really worn out, and that's why it snapped. So I had to get surgery. And so when I got surgery, my recovery time was 1.5 years of physiotherapy.
Wow.
So I knew that in that 1.5 years, I'm not going to be able to go to the gym, or not going to be able to do any fast sports. So I decided I'll make a change in how I eat, so that I'm able to watch what I eat, right? So I decided one of the things I want to do, I mean, it could have been gluten-free, it could have been keto, it could have been anything, but I picked veganism because it has a strong, I was into Instagram also back then. So I was trying to figure out Instagram. And so veganism has this very strong community.
Yes.
And otherwise. So I thought I'll find a lot of inspiration, and I combined that with my love for photography. The follow-up to that is I eat that good food also, that healthy food. That's how I got into veganism. That's how I started posting about it. And interestingly, there's veganism is also considered very colorful, right? Because you're using a lot of raw food, you're using a lot of different kinds of food.
Now coming to your motherhood journey, how was pregnancy itself for you? And share with us, what are some of the things you experienced during pregnancy which nobody told you about, not spoken about in general,
Yeah, so I think one thing that nobody told me about is that things can go wrong, right? I think when you see media and when you see social media posts, I mean, now a lot more people are vocal. But nobody talked about pregnancy loss. Nobody talked about, hypertension during pregnancy, or nobody talked about the fact that even when I was pregnant and I went to my childbirth classes, nobody talked about emergency C-sections. Everyone talks about the good scenario. Everyone talks about, how you see that positive sign on your pregnancy test, and the next thing you see in movies and stuff like that is you're birthing the child, and there's a doctor between your legs waiting for the baby to pop out, and the husband fainting, and it's all very, it's all very romanticized.
True.
Nobody really tells you what the reality is. But during pregnancy, interestingly, because I had a previous pregnancy loss, my first 20 weeks was filled with anxiety. I'll be very honest about that, because I didn't, you never know, when you go through pregnancy loss, you don't know what happened. It just happens. It's just an outcome.
Yeah.
So when I was, through my first 20 weeks, I was just like, okay, I just need this to work. I just need this to, I need to keep going. And after 20 weeks, it kind of just flipped. Like, I started enjoying my pregnancy like never before. Like, I was just a happy pregnant woman. I was going to work until 2 weeks before birth. I kept going into work. I completely enjoyed the pampering that people were giving me. I enjoyed my growing body because I was so ready to like embrace it. And I had a really big bump. And I loved it when people used to come and, touch my belly. I actually really, really, really enjoyed pregnancy. But I didn't anticipate the traumatic birth experience, because it was a 45-hour long labor and then ended in an emergency C-section. But other than that, it was a blast.
Okay. Talking about, the other side, like what you mentioned, even like infertility, like people, they don't, you're just expected to get pregnant just off the bat, and also loss of a pregnancy, postpartum depression. Now the awareness is, becoming more and people are talking about it. But in terms of how the people around you should handle it, what a mother needs the most at that time, because people think just offering a word of advice, or they think that they can really understand what you're going through. But I don't think anybody can understand what you're going through until you actually go through it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is not possible for anybody to know what you're going through unless they actually went through it. And God forbid that people go through this experience, because it's one of the most painful things a person can go through, a couple can go through. But people do go through it. Interestingly, what happens is people that do go through it don't talk about it. But people that don't go through it try to offer support and advice.
True.
I think there's two aspects here. One, when a person goes through something like I've gone through pregnancy loss, so I'll talk about that. I don't know so much about people that have gone through infertility and postpartum depression, because my postpartum depression was very, very limited, and I was able to come out of it soon. So I don't want to assume for them. But when I went through my experience, I wanted to be the one to take the first step and say something and talk to somebody about it, right? Like, so I shared with very few people, very few friends of mine. And I really appreciated that. I'm not expecting them to not tell other people, even if they do tell other, because people talk, people care, and that's why they talk. If they do tell other people, I really appreciated that people understood that they should not break boundaries and come and approach me about it or talk to me about it unless I'm ready, unless Ashwin is ready. And I think that's really useful. That time, what that mother needs, or that father needs, is the feeling that, okay, this is all normal. And that can come in two ways. One, if they share with you, please be supportive, in the sense, like, ask them questions, ask them how they're feeling, ask them about their fears, ask them about their hopes, or ask them what they're doing about it. Sometimes people say, especially when it's an early loss, people say it's also dismissive sometimes, like, previously in older generations, this used to happen all the time, like, it's not a big deal. At the end of the day, it is a big deal.
It is,
right? And you're not in an older generation; you're a newer generation where you find out within 4 weeks, right? And that's a big deal. So I'd say, like, just being understanding of the fact that the couple needs time, the couple needs space, the mother needs time, the mother needs space to heal from that. Both physically and mentally. That's the most important thing. One of the sweetest things that happened was my youngest sister, she came to be with me immediately after I had experienced my loss. And she was with me for almost 2 months, and we did several road trips. We went on a hike in Utah, and it was very, very healing for me, because I had that. And several of my friends, one of my closest friends came to drop off breakfast the next day, and that's it. They just left breakfast outside and left. And that's the thing that you need. You need You need people to
Exactly.
give you space, but also support you.
Yeah.
They never talk about postpartum. Nobody ever tells you,
Yeah.
nobody prepares you for what's to come.
Right.
Every class that I went to during pregnancy for childbirth and breastfeeding, they talked about latching. How are you supposed to know if you've never breastfed before? How are you supposed to know how that feels? Nobody talked about delayed milk, like you said, because I had delayed milk. My milk came only after 7 days. And nobody prepares you for pumping. Oh my God, like I had never seen a pump before in my life. And when I saw that contraction, I was like, how is this supposed to work, you know?
Right.
The only reason I was successful with my breastfeeding journey was because of my mother. And that's when my pumping journey started, you know, like the lactation consultant said, what you need to do is stimulate more and you'll start making more. And about day 7 is when my milk started coming in, and I have never looked back after that. So I basically just set the expectation with my team that I'm pumping all the time. So if I need to switch off my video, you're never going to see me. So I'm going to put it at this level, and I'm going to pump, and you might hear the pumping noise. And they were like, yeah, okay, whatever. They didn't know what was pumping until I told them. But that's good, right? That's why you have women on the workforce, you have women in leadership roles, so that people build empathy for these things. So I mark it off on my calendar and let people know this is the time I'm pumping.
Excellent. Now, there's one thing we need to talk about, which is the album magazine that your parents, your mother especially made for your son Ved. How did that materialize, and what all does it contain? It's such a genius idea, by the way.
Yeah,
so I was amazed.
You can see it in the back. Can you see it?
Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah.
So that basically materialized. It was completely my mom's idea. So she wanted to create something that was not just a photo album, but also had tidbits of people's journeys through seeing it. So Ved's the first grandson in the house, like at least between Ashwin and I. So, he's a baby in the house after 25 years. My youngest sister is 25.
Right.
And she, like, everyone is just so enamored by him. So, like, they just dote on him. So, she wanted to make something that had captured all the experiences from all the grandparents, all the sisters, and we had like a little naming ceremony and a cradle ceremony for him in India. So that's also captured. So her idea is she will make volumes of this. So this was the first 6 months. And then for the next 6 months, like she's now working on material to produce another one like this.
Oh, wow. An updated one.
Yeah, so she went online, she found a magazine production website, and she did all the work. And it was pretty amazing to see. And once the final product came out, people were stunned because it actually looks really, really good.
Wow.
Yeah.
She is one cool grandmom. So we're talking about Mrs. Lakshmi Ramakrishnan, who is an independent filmmaker, actor, fashion designer. She is multi-talented, and when Babe grows up, he's going to have something that he can preserve. Some wonderful memories.
Yeah, absolutely.
Super cool.
Absolutely. And my dad, like always, like the reason we don't like always talk about my dad is because he's just there constantly.
He's just there, yeah.
He's just there constantly supporting, and
right.
So he basically worked with her through the night. Like I think she worked on this for several weeks up until 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Wow. He'd be right beside her trying to, contribute in a character. It's really sweet, yeah.
Really sweet, yeah. A useful tip for working parents, if you can share.
Set expectations with your team that now you're a parent and that you will have to balance both, and talk to them about your life. Talk to them about breastfeeding, talk to them about sleep regressions, talk to them about teething, and help them have empathy for you.
Okay, cool. One mommy hack that helps you, it could be anything to calm down your child, or something useful that you can share with our viewers.
I'd say arrange your house in a way that doesn't give you stress if it does get messy.
Okay.
and make things easier for you. Like, for example, have a large cloth bag for all your kids' toys, because all I do in the evening is just go around the house with the bag and put everything in it.
Right.
Previously, I would love to have had shelves where I could arrange them, but I don't do that anymore.
Right. That's a cool tip. So your husband is a singer, and I've heard you sing too. You have a beautiful voice. Could you sing a couple of lines for us?
Oh, sure.
Your favorite.
Uh, okay, so my favorite song is Idudan Kadal Enbada.
Okay.
So my voice is almost out now because I've spoken so much. So I'll
No worries, no worries. Yeah, just a couple of.
நேற்று இல்லாத மாற்றம் என்னது காற்றில் என் காதில் ஏதோ சொன்னது இதுதான் காதல் என்பதா இளமை பொங்கி விட்டதா இதயம் செங்கி விட்டதா சொல் மனமே நேற்று இல்லாத மாற்றம் என்னது காற்று என் காதில் ஏதோ சொன்னது.
Wow, beautiful, Shar. To end with one smoothie bowl recipe that we can try at home.
Yeah. So the easiest smoothie bowl to make and the creamiest smoothie bowl to make is actually with frozen bananas. So you take a couple of bananas, you slice them up, put them in a Ziploc bag and throw them in your freezer overnight. And you can, in the morning, if you have a nice strong blender, you don't have to thaw your bananas at all. But if you don't have a nice strong blender, maybe thaw it for about 5 minutes. Put it in the blender and throw in whatever you want. You can throw in chia seeds, hemp seeds. You can throw in another fruit like a dragon fruit that has color, or you can throw in an apple or any other fruit that you want. Okay. Typically, I also like to freeze the other fruit, like mangoes, for example. I slice them up and freeze them.
Okay.
And so when you blend all of this together, you get a really nice soft serve consistency smoothie. And then you want to add some sweetener, you could, but I typically don't. Okay. And then I pour it out into my bowl, so it'll be a nice ice cream smooth soft serve type consistency. So I pour it in my bowl, and then I add toppings, whatever toppings I want. So it could be almond shavings, it could be vegan chocolate chips, it could be other fruit that you want to put on top. So I typically use strawberries and blueberries. So berries are a good thing to put on top. And then you top it off with some peanut butter and you're done.
Sounds delicious. So I'm going to try this one, and I hope our viewers can try the same at home.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the end of the interview. I want to thank you so much for sharing all this information. I had a lot of fun with you.
Yeah, absolutely, Deepti. I'm so glad you're doing this. I know you have 2 kids, and you're doing this in your free time. That's truly amazing. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for making me talk through all of these things, and I'm really glad if a few people get any use out of it. That'll be amazing. So thank you for having me.